This afternoon, the Washington Post published a story that should concern every American with a family member in uniform. Russia is providing Iran with targeting intelligence on the locations of United States warships and aircraft in the Middle East. Not political support, not diplomatic cover. Targeting data. The kind of information that tells an Iranian missile operator exactly where to aim. 3 U.S. officials confirmed it. One of them called it a pretty comprehensive effort. Let that sit for a moment. A nuclear-armed adversary of the United States, the same country we have been in a standoff with for decades, is now actively helping Iran shoot at American forces. This is not Iran fighting alone anymore. This is Russia in the shadows, feeding coordinates to a regime that has already killed 6 American soldiers. And here's the part that makes today unlike any day in this war so far. Hours before that story dropped, President Trump went on Truth Social and wrote 2 words in capital letters that have not been used by an American president to describe war aims since 1945. Unconditional surrender. He said there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. Make Iran great again. MIGA. Welcome to the Sandtable. This is briefing number 18. Subscribe and hit the bell because in the next minutes I'm going to take you inside the 5 stories that just redefine this conflict. Russia is helping Iran target American forces. Trump demands total capitulation. Oil just hit $91 a barrel. Defense contractors agreed to quadruple weapons production, and the Pentagon quietly asked for intelligence support through September, not 4 weeks, September. Here is what nobody is telling you about day 7. Let me take you inside the Russia story because this is the most significant strategic development since the war began. The Washington Post reported today, citing 3 U.S. officials familiar with the intelligence, that Russia has been providing Iran with targeting information on the locations of American military assets in the Middle East. That includes the positions of U.S. warships and aircraft. The officials described it as a comprehensive effort. Iran's own ability to track American forces has been severely degraded since the strikes began. Their radar systems, their satellites, and their intelligence infrastructure have been hit hard. So Russia is filling the gap. Here is the technical detail that matters. Iran has only a handful of military satellites and does not possess its own satellite constellation. Without external help, they are effectively blind to where American carrier strike groups are operating, where B-2 bombers are staging from, and where Patriot batteries are positioned. Russia has one of the most capable intelligence-gathering systems on the planet, second only to the United States. Their satellites, their signals intelligence, and their electronic surveillance can see things Iran cannot. And they are sharing that picture with Tehran. Now here is the analysis you need to understand. This does not make Russia a combatant in the legal sense. They are not firing weapons. They are not providing missiles or aircraft. But in practical terms, if a Russian satellite tells Iran where the USS Gerald R. Ford is operating, and Iran fires a ballistic missile salvo at that location, and American sailors die, that intelligence contributed directly to targeting American personnel. That is what shadow warfare looks like in 2026. And it means this war now features 2 of America's chief nuclear-armed competitors on the opposite side. One fighting, one feeding. The CIA and the Pentagon both declined to comment. The Russian embassy did not respond. War Secretary Hegseth said earlier this week that Russia is not really a factor. Today's report suggests otherwise. And 2 officials familiar with the intelligence told the Post something else. China does not appear to be assisting Iran's defense, despite close ties between the 2 countries. So the question becomes, how long does that last if the war goes through the summer? Now, the statement from the president that defines the political framework of this entire war. This morning on Truth Social, President Trump posted in capital letters, "There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender." After that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leader or leaders, we and many of our wonderful and very brave allies will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. MIGA. Those are the last 2 words of the Post. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt clarified later on Fox News what unconditional surrender means. It means Trump determines that Iran can no longer pose a threat to the United States and our troops. She listed the objectives: destroy the Navy, eliminate the ballistic missile threat, guarantee no nuclear weapon, and weaken the proxies. And she gave a timeline, approximately 4 to 6 more weeks. Here is why this matters strategically. Unconditional surrender is a term that carries specific historical weight. It was used against Nazi Germany. It was used against Imperial Japan. It means no negotiated terms, no compromise, no ceasefire agreement. The losing side stops fighting and accepts whatever the winner decides. No American president has used that language about a war since Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman. Now here's the part that changes the picture. Hours before Trump posted that demand, Iranian President Pezeshkian wrote on social media that some countries have begun mediation efforts to stop the war. He said Iran is committed to lasting peace. That was an opening, however small, for negotiation. And Trump's response was to slam the door shut, unconditional surrender. Iran's foreign minister responded, "No reason why we should negotiate." He called Washington untrustworthy. And in Tehran, thousands marched after Friday prayers chanting, "We will fight, we will die, we will not accept humiliation." The door is closed on both sides now. Now the story that affects every American taxpayer, because this war has a price tag. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, published an estimate today. The first 100 hours of Operation Epic Fury cost $3.7 billion. That is $891 million per day. And here is the number that should make every fiscal conservative pay attention. $3.5 billion of that was not budgeted. It came from existing Pentagon accounts that were allocated for other things: training, maintenance, and readiness. Those accounts are now being raided to pay for this war, and the cost is about to accelerate. Today, President Trump met with defense contractors, Lockheed Martin and RTX, at the White House. He announced afterward that they have agreed to quadruple production of what he called exquisite class weaponry. That means the most advanced precision-guided munitions in the American arsenal. Quadruple production does not happen overnight. It takes months to scale manufacturing lines, source materials, and train workers. But the intent tells you something. The Pentagon is burning through weapons faster than the defense industrial base can replace them. The Washington Post reported separately that the Pentagon is rapidly depleting its stockpiles of precision-guided weapons and air defense interceptors. One official said the concern is not the current supply, it is the replacement timeline. Every Tomahawk cruise missile fired, every JDAM dropped, every Patriot interceptor launched takes months or years to replace. And here is the timeline that contradicts everything the White House is saying publicly. Politico reported this week that the Pentagon has asked for additional Iran-focused intelligence support for at least 100 days, but likely through September. Not 4 weeks, not 4 to 6 weeks, through September. That is a 6-month operational timeline being quietly planned, now the number that every American is going to feel. Brent crude oil hit $91 a barrel today, the highest price since October 2023. That is a 24% surge in 1 week. U.S. oil prices are up 31% this week. The Dow Jones dropped more than 900 points after Trump's unconditional surrender post. The S&P 500 fell 1.6%. The Nasdaq fell 1.6%. Markets are not reacting to the war. They are reacting to the signal that the war has no off-ramp. Qatar's energy minister warned today that rising oil prices could bring down the economies of the world. That is not a commentator. That is the energy minister of one of the world's largest gas exporters telling you the global economy is at risk. Shipping giant Maersk, the second largest shipping company on the planet, suspended its operations in the Middle East today. Oil storage tanks across the Gulf region are filling up because exports have stopped. Analysts are warning that if storage hits capacity, production itself will have to shut down. That means the oil that is still being pumped has nowhere to go. And here's the detail that connects the oil story to the Russia story. Moscow is seeing a significant increase in demand for Russian energy resources. That is a direct quote from Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov today. Russia is profiting from this war. Every dollar that oil rises benefits Moscow. They have a financial incentive to keep this conflict going, and they are providing intelligence that helps Iran do exactly that. Now the battlefield picture, because the numbers tell a story of a military that is being systematically destroyed, but is not yet finished. U.S. officials confirmed today that Iranian ballistic missile attacks have fallen 90% since day one. Drone attacks have fallen 83%. The Israeli military claims to have achieved near-complete air superiority and says it has destroyed 80% of Iran's air defense systems. Israel struck over 400 targets in western Iran today alone, destroying ballistic missile launchers and drone storage facilities. The IDF released footage showing the destruction of Khamenei's underground bunker in the heart of Tehran, dismantled by bunker-busting munitions. But Iran is not surrendering. Ali Larijani, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, the man effectively running the country, warned today that Iranian forces are waiting for a potential U.S. ground invasion. He threatened to kill and capture thousands of American troops if they cross the border. That is not a bluff from weakness. That is an asymmetric strategy. Iran knows it cannot win the air war. Its hope is to survive long enough for the cost, the oil price, and the political pressure to force Washington to stop. And the bombing is getting more intense, not less. Al Jazeera's correspondent in Tehran reported today that the bombardment was more intense than any previous day. Here is the full Day 7 picture. Russia has entered the war as a shadow combatant, providing Iran with targeting intelligence on American forces. Trump demanded unconditional surrender, the first time that language has been used since World War II. Oil hit $91, a 24% surge in 1 week. The war has cost $3.7 billion in 100 hours, most of it unbudgeted. Defense contractors are being asked to quadruple production because stockpiles are depleting. The Pentagon is quietly planning for operations through September. And Iran's military capability has been reduced by 90%. But the regime is promising to fight to the last man. 1,332 people are dead in Iran. 217 are dead in Lebanon. 11 in Israel. 6 Americans. Brent crude at 91. The Dow down 900. 25,000 flights canceled. And the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Hegseth told Israel to keep going to the end. Iran says bring on the ground invasion. And Russia is whispering coordinates into Tehran's ear. Here is what Day 7 tells you. This war has entered a new phase, not on the battlefield, but in the architecture of power surrounding it. Russia's intelligence support means Iran is no longer fighting alone. Trump's unconditional surrender demand means there is no diplomatic exit being offered. Subscribe, hit the bell, share this briefing. Tell me in the comments, does unconditional surrender end this war faster or make it last longer? I will see you at the next briefing.